Laurie's coming. Wonderful. Hey, oh wow, more. Full house today. Wonderful. Hi, Laurie. Nice to see you. Hi, Una. Also nice. You're outside. It's warm in Canada. Awesome. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. So whoever attended, and I do see a few new faces, so welcome. And if you're new to KI, you're so in the right place to be. And this is just, these gatherings is just a support to support the fundamentals of KI, which is what attracted me. Well, not just what attracted me the most, but what was the most, how would I say, absolutely necessary ingredient that I've seen in my transformation. And then I've seen it in Scott's work where, you know, non-duality didn't stay as static, just transcendent state, where it actually really comes back and becomes an embodied experience. And this path became a beautiful cleansing mechanism to get everything out of the way of the awakening of the heart. So this is, so KI really cleans everything, all our emotional hangouts and attachments and identifications. And this is a part just to support the other side of the coin, so to say, which is the abiding and just resting and being without the need to do anything else. Just recognizing the beingness, the existence that we are. Because through KI, it's constantly been pointing out to us that we're not a picture, we're not a word, we're not a sound, we're not a sensation. And in the process of processing everything and recognizing that, it's also very important to kind of also start noticing that, you know, I like this analogy as if we bought, like, let's say, new hiking shoes, and we're so looking forward to go on the hike, and we're so obsessed with those shoes because they look so cool. And then we go on the hike and all we see is actually the shoes because we're making sure we're taking care and we're using them well. Like they're really serving us at that time. They're actually really good. They're an amazing tool for that hike. But all we did was just paid attention to the tool and not to the space and to the scenery and everything else that's happening. So I feel like this is kind of why I love to gather us in this way, so we can not just hear, but when we do a KI session, start leaning back and recognizing that what is seeing, like really becoming curious. Okay, where am I watching from? What is seeing? Is it just the story of me, watching the story of me, watching words and pictures and sensations? Or is there something else happening in the process? When I do see the illusion that I'm not a word or I'm not a picture, it's just kind of staying curious, what else is here? What is this that really is seeing? And perhaps it's not going to be constantly there, but there's going to be spaces in KI that you can start noticing that. So this is the invitation to kind of bathe in that, just abiding, just resting, just being. So when I recognize that in a KI session, it's going to be much more familiar, and where I'm seeing from and where I'm processing whatever is arising from me from is going to be much more known, I guess. Yeah, much more familiar. Okay, so let's see, being unprepared. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to open to questions soon, so maybe it's going to be more alive. Whatever I'm about to share, answering a question would be better. And then we're just obviously going to dive into just resting and being a guided meditation. And okay, what I'm noticing, there's just a little bit of anxiousness here now. So I'm just going to allow that. And let's see what comes up. So yeah, I wonder why. I guess the intimidation of a big group. Yeah, I feel like red and flushed. Phew. Ah, good.
We should all give you a big group hug.
Mm. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you for the heart. Yeah. So we're always human, no matter what. That's the beauty of this. And no matter, how transcendent we are, having the body, you'll always have the reaction of the psychological responses to the environment, to the present moment, to the people around you, to the energy around you. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that instead of. So what's real here, it's just kind of recognizing the more we come, the more we cleanse with KI, the more we recognize and start embracing the humanity that we are in a full totality of what it truly is. And when we recognize and when we come back to remember, even through glimpses or meditation or KI, just longer gifts of this just being state, we start recognizing that what I am is so vast. Like what I am is so inclusive, that what I am, because I'm first and foremost that, first and foremost, I'm existence itself, I'm space itself. And you can see in KI, you can just start noticing that when we bring down awareness into the body, we can experience there's this space, this aliveness that is seeing, is hearing, is aware of, is vigilant of whatever is coming and going. So when we start to come back to this vastness that we are, recognizing, remembering that, we start realizing that we uniquely appear as all these energies and all these stories and all these memories and all these pictures. And now, instead of running away and trying to fix it, because we know we're fundamentally existence itself, we're actually become curious about perhaps leaning more into the curiosity of meeting, perhaps for the first time, these energies that are constantly screaming for our attention. Well done. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'll mute Carrie. I can mute. Yeah. So hi, Michael. Nice to see you. So yeah, this the more we recognize that our we, who, and what we are is untouched, the more we recognize that we are not a time state. And although time is necessary and time is helpful, and it's not, here we are on time being here, some on time, some not. And it's useful. But it's when we start identifying, when the vastness that we are, the presence, the now moment that we are, starts identifying with time frame, meaning the past memories, the energies within us, which come from the past, or projection into the fixed future me that will be a better version of myself. So when we start hanging around in that realm, and meaning we're hanging around in the realm of our head and the thoughts and the noise and the worries and the judgments and all that, just giving so much attention. And it's just a habit. It's just unlearning and stepping back and unlearning and stepping back into the background, starting to notice how attracted are we as, you know, as awareness, how attracted are we to these miserable states because they're so familiar to us. And how we go into these states, of course, automatically, because it's just very, we're used to be hanging around in that, in the head most of the time. And KI is the invitation to, okay, let's come down. Okay, the head is there, there's the thought, but I'm here and the thought is right there. I can see it. And then let me come down into the body and start noticing what's really here. And because I'm also recognizing that whatever I am cannot be destroyed, because it's not a word, it's not a sensation, it's not something that's coming and going, it's something that's been with me forever. Even, you know, prior to this life, just if you sit down and contemplate, have you ever not existed? There is no way that you can tap into something like that, an answer like that. It's just the beingness is just always been exactly that, from the day you were born, the day the body was born, the story by your name was born, the biological mechanism was born. And then this vastness that we are, when we recognize that we are the existence itself, there is that beauty, that what we were escaping from, like is the suffering, the personality, so to say, not even a personality, but our story, and the need to fix it because it's so not good enough all the time. Then just this ability of including that and seeing the beauty of, wow, this is what created the flavor, the essence that I am in a form of the manifest, the one that manifests uniquely as you. So when I recognize, first and foremost, I'm the foundation, I'm the existence. And then through KI, when I start learning, wow, what I'm running away from has to be actually loved and accepted and allowed to be exactly as it is. So when I'm going to start loving and accepting the most painful or the most ugly or the most shameful or the most guilty parts of myself, energies, they're just energies. So when I start accepting that, when I start become curious of that, when I don't lose touch with the existence that I am, then I can understand and I can see that there is space for, no matter how much or how strong the sensations or how scary the sensations or how shameful these sensations are. And by this leaning forward, I start accepting and recognizing the beauty of my own self-expression as this human journey, as this human expression. And when I recognize that this human expression is actually as well included and much more playful than what I thought it was, because I thought it was not good enough. And now I can start noticing the not good enough can be transmuted to if the fear was there to be something and the heart was there wanting to move forward. And when I address the fear and I welcome the fear and I talk to the fear and I recognize and I invite it and I look at it in the eyes, I recognize that nothing can be annihilated because what I am is existence itself. And the fear itself can be held in love, in acceptance, in allowance. And therefore it subsides, or it allows, that barrier allows us to move forward and to recognize that there's nothing to be afraid of. Because what I am is existence itself. What I am is life itself. And this moving forward and including the humanness and recognizing that as long as we have a body, we can transcend. When we can meditate, we can kind of just separate who and what we are, the existence itself, from the human. But at the end, and that's the beauty of KI, because it's all included. At the end, the world is still here, relating is still here, appearing like that and blushing is still here. Whatever else is in your life is always going to be constantly in your face and constantly inviting the totality of the human and all of its messiness to be included in the equation of awakening. Because transcendence, I've been there for 2 years, it's very dry. And it has its stage, right? It had its stage because I had no idea how to move in the world. All of a sudden, the ego, like, what's in this relationship, or what's in this movement? What is there for me? Like, that was no longer operating. So not knowing how to move kind of keeps you away from people, keeps you away from relating, and therefore, experientially, it becomes very dry, and you realize awakening without the heart, it's nothing. It's like dry desert, really. So here we are. And KI, it's such a beautiful invitation to wake up in the midst of relating. Wake up in the midst of this body and this personality being exactly as it is, without the need of fixing. And when we start recognizing that this movement of the ego trying to fix something was constantly actually creating suffering, and that slowly slows down and loses its job, so to say, then the actual talents and gifts that we have and the experience, we all have experience to share. We start recognizing, oh my God, I was trying to be something there, but there's so much beauty right here that I can share. And this accepting the totality of the human becomes a beautiful love song, because we recognize that all these things I was neglecting about myself or trying to fix about myself perhaps are actually the gifts that I can give to the world. Because, let's say, an example, and with my mom, there was always this intense conditioning that I have to study a lot, I have to be intelligent enough, or I am going to end up on the streets. So there's always in our family, it's like they're all like, high degrees, whatever, Russian, intelligent kind of lineage. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm not making it. Like all the immigrations and all the languages, and my writing is full of mistakes. So I hated myself in that way. But when you kind of recognize, like, wow, that's not your forte. But what's here is actually the emotional intelligence that was always here, that was completely neglected. That is finally, by embracing and letting go of the deficiency stories of trying to become someone we're not, we actually start embracing the intelligence that manifests uniquely as you. And that is the beauty. That is the invitation, apart from of course, the ground of being is very important in this equation, because we can only let go. Things can only disintegrate in the full presence of awareness, meeting the deficiency story and seeing the illusion that we used to believe, those lies that we used to believe about ourselves. And of course, with the illusion, we can see the compassion of the parents that didn't know what else to do, and they're suffering. There's a whole chemistry, and there's a whole alchemical processes that are taking place when awareness meeting these stories. Yeah, but yeah, we're never losing the human. The human is just the most beautiful journey ever. Yeah, the human heart is this. That's where the suchness of life, I think, lies. Really, that intimacy and connection, and yeah, the sweetness, the nectar of life is right there. So yeah, the invitation with KI, we're all protecting our hearts, and whether we're repressing emotions, whether there was just trauma that made us, build a shell around ourselves and move through the world either very minimally or very protectively. And the invitation to step into the background is when we recognize that we are the background. There's nothing to protect because nothing is wounded. Nothing was ever wounded. And when we can recognize that, maybe the guard can slowly relax. And whatever that might mean for you practically, it might mean small little things that you invite into your life that perhaps seemed very scary before, but maybe bring them to KI. And be scared right there. And then when you live through that, you can understand, oh my gosh, nothing was destroyed in the process of allowing fear fully to consume whatever it needed to. And then maybe when I move into the world, next time that same fear arises, there's a bit more space, and I know that I am the space. Maybe I can remember just for a moment, how it was in the KI session, and that I was not destroyed, allowing fear. So when I move into the world and the fear arises, maybe I'm no longer going to hide or shine away or explode in rage or anger defending my position, whatever that might be. So let's explore space together. Thank you for being here. My goodness, thank you so much. This is such a pleasure. Yeah, I'll take a few questions if there are any, or sharing, or how you perhaps included the human expression of yourself a little bit more, or anything really. Any KI questions? Oh, yes. Good.
I guess I raised my hand so formally. I guess so much came up when you were talking. It made me just delight in like the aliveness of just coming up unprepared, because it's so in the moment. Like isn't that just natural rest embodied, just like showing up unprepared? I don't know, I just loved that, and it brought up so much in me, so I wanted to comment on that. But because we're just like galaxies interacting, like it's just so that there's so much space, and then there's like you zoom into something and it's just like that's a whole planet. But hey.
Yeah.
But my question is, like, you're talking about fear, and like I'll go into rest, and then I'll notice that my rest is like very like semicircular. Like I'm very comfortable in front where like my vision is used to, but then I start to like open behind me and a bunch of fear comes up. It's like opening to the back. Like that seems very disconcerting. I don't know if
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for the comments and the question. Fear. Fear is an interesting part of the whole process and the journey because um hmm, because going beyond the realm of the mind, there is the unknown. That's one part of the fear that could be. There's also the fear to look back, which seems like in the back, it seems like a lot of past that perhaps we might be carrying around unconsciously. And of course, it might take CAS session and some mining to really get into what's really behind there. But what with fear, what is had been noticed and how intense it might be, it's almost, if anything, if there would be a practice to kind of slowly start um, getting acquainted with fear instead of like really shining away, turning away, distracting and whatever else is happening. So really it's just an energy, right? It is a protection mechanism that is allowing the body to survive. So there's this existential fear, but it becoming psychological. It thinks that there's something that's going to be destroyed because we think ourselves to be a certain identity. So when that is questioned, there might be a lot of fear that might be arising, especially in KI. We're definitely going to meet a lot of fear with waking up. So this kind of like, well, let me feel it just for a little bit. Like, let me lean into it just tiny little bit. And then I have all the beautiful tools, or just a simple focus shifting where I close my eyes and I let it come over me, so to say, consume me just for a little bit. And then I'll open my eyes and I'll focus shift. And I look outside, I don't know, look at the plant, look at the wall. And then maybe I'll come back again. I'll lean forward again and I'll let it be there. And maybe a little bit longer, maybe more curious. And then another invitation, when I get acquainted like that and I see that it's not destroying anything, that it's just really intense sensations, perhaps overpowering, maybe even the heart going to be active, and maybe there's a lot of palpitation and just so just slowly focus shifting again, back again. Okay, I'm going to focus shift again, and I'll let that come down, and I'll come back again. And sometimes when we really okay with being with fear, we can almost like peek behind. What's behind there? What's behind that fear? Yeah. And sometimes there's a whole world back there that was just protected by that fear. And it was so strong, that fear, that we never dared to look behind. Yeah. So yeah, just slowly. Yeah, and it even like when we practice, when we start noticing, that we are the existence. And I remember uncovering a lot of fear from my 20 years of repression, of shame. And there was a lot of fear with that. There was just a shock as a kid. And therefore, when circumstances would play out similarly, there would be a lot of heart palpitation, and it's just like a fear that would literally come up and choke me, and I would were not able to speak, were not able to express myself. So like a PTSD reaction. And what was happening with that, when I learned, okay, even if it's here, even if it's so uncomfortable and it feels like it's gonna literally choke me, or I'm gonna just lack of breath, like I started to allow even the intensity of that, knowing that I'm not going to be destroyed in the process, and still was moving forward and trying to express myself. And what happened, it took about a year or so to get less and less and less and less and less. And now it's just like, well, today was a little bit of blushing, but the energy is not here anymore. But it's just that inclusion, that allowing it to be exactly what it is and just allowing it to be fully what it is, eventually runs out its juices, because we're no longer afraid of it. So it's no longer, there's that friction resisting the fear, or resisting resistance, resisting the shame. So when that energy is happening within us, it's whatever we resist persists. So it's going to continue happening. So the more we open up as opposed to resisting, the more it's going to be included, and softer and softer and softer every time. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, fear is a big one coming to KI, and because it was a most powerful protection mechanism for us. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna I just do have a session right after, so let's meditate a bit. But let me see. Well, I do have 5 minutes. Anyone else? Anything else?
Yeah, I could just share something that came up
Yeah, for sure.
in this session, actually. You know, when you were speaking, which it's about now, and how my reaction. Excuse me. when you said that, you know, you were blushing, you were unprepared, and feeling some energy around that, you know, some fear, or, you know, whatever form that takes. But and my reaction, just noticing my reaction, is to, you know, want to care for you, fix you, change it, love you, and just seeing. I mean, it's old behavior. It's my pattern, you know, from life and attachment, and so beautiful just to see that in myself. And it's all okay, you know. It's to love that here, and there's nothing wrong. It's just to seeing that. So thank you for that, bringing that up.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it's so true, you know, like there's the Enneagram. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but there's fixations of the ego, and mine was well, the first was peacemaker, and the second spot was the helper. And it's interesting to see when it's unconscious, it's actually in the way, because we're just gonna try to avoid any conflict, well, as a peacemaker, or avoid anger, or avoid many different things, you know, just like anything will make us uncomfortable. But when we clear that stuff up, as I'm saying, the personality, the beauty of who you are uniquely stays there. I love helping. But now it's no longer like I'm gonna say yes to anything I get asked, because, you know, like the helper in me needs to define itself, you know, it needs to be that. Or the peacemaker, you know, I'm gonna save the world because I am gonna save the world. When that moves out of the way, it still plays out that way, because the personality is still there, but there's no longer that egoic driver, or the need to reaffirm an identity because we do that. I can easily say no now when I don't have the time to help, but I can also feel the love of, and the, how do I say, the enjoyment and the pleasure from helping. Yeah. So exactly as you were saying, Ella, it reminded me a little bit about that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So here we are, and we're like looking, who are we, you know, like what is my purpose? And it's like, it's all already there. All we need is just to clear what is trying to fix, you know, what is trying to be something else than what is already here. And we can start noticing, like, oh, okay, we're actually yeah, we're actually have already a lot to share. Okay, so it's 20 minutes guidance, and let's see. Yeah, well, maybe we can do like an inclusiveness kind of meditation. There's going to be bells, so just open. And I'll invite you to get comfortable. And as we're going to kind of finish in silence, and I would literally just like give you a hug, energetic hug this way, and I will switch off, and I think we're just gonna go silently back into our spaces and our lives. Okay, so nice to see you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and let's just be together.